Now, and Jubilee Secretary General Raphael Tuju has accused Chief Justice David Maraga and the judiciary of open bias against Jubilee over some of their decisions that he says favoured NASA.
In a blunt, open letter to the Chief Justice, Tuju listed 8 instances where the judiciary displayed apparently open bias and impunity, saying the judiciary's reckless actions could burn the country.
Well, Tuju's statement just comes a day after the Chief Justice shuffled some judges in the latest shake-up at the judiciary.
Sheila Sindeo reports.
In an uncompromising letter dated the 9th of this month, Jubilee Party Secretary General Raphael Tuju lashes out at the Chief Justice and the institution he heads, finding fault with how the judiciary has handled some of the cases that have come up before them. He accuses the judiciary of acting irresponsibly when they so many times issued decisions that he says were openly biased against Jubilee and in favor of NASA. Such actions, he says, could easily burn the country. And as he puts it, the Chief Justice, with all due respect, almost succeeded in burning the country after the August 8th election when he nullified it. Tuju points to a series of what he calls hasty and ill-conceived decisions by the judiciary, some of which he says have turned judges into rebels. He references the Supreme Court's ruling that cancelled the results of the August 8th presidential election and the orders for a repeat vote on the 26th of October, which NASA boycotted in defiance of the Supreme Court ruling. Tuju questions why there was no statement from the judiciary to condemn NASA for their bold disobedience. He further charges that when the Jubilee Party filed contempt of court proceedings against NASA for they had several times declared there would be no election, the Supreme Court saw no urgency in their filing and instead gave a post facto date of the 27th of October. This, he says, amounted to a naughty wink by the judiciary to NASA to continue with their contempt of the Supreme Court. The Jubilee Secretary General accuses the Chief Justice of double standards, questioning why, on the flip side, a case filed by activists Khelef Khalifa and Jonjo Mue seeking to stop the October 26th repeat vote was certified urgent and even assigned a hearing date on a public holiday. This case collapsed when only 2 out of 7 judges of the Supreme Court bench were present when the court convened on the morning of the 25th of October. Jubilee also questions what they say is the Supreme Court's indifference to NASA's decision to swear in their leaders in a ceremony that the government says was illegal. Tuju criticized the Chief Justice's reserved take on the swearing in when he said he had no authority to stop any judge from swearing in NASA leader Raila Odinga, which he says amounted to an endorsement of NASA plans. And even though the state moved to court to seek directions on the planned swearing in, the judiciary, Tuju says, was too busy to slot a date before the ceremony happened, instead setting a hearing date in February. The Chief Justice, Tuju further claims, has remained impassive despite a court order suspending the formation of NASA's People Assembly, and which he says the NASA coalition continues to defy. In his disparaging rant to the head of the judiciary, the Jubilee Secretary General accuses some judges of being an arm of NASA, making decisions based on their tribes. He falls back to the Supreme Court findings that nullified the August election. That process was more important than numbers. A finding that has since had the executive livid, with the country's top leadership speaking of unspecified consequences. His letter coming just after the Chief Justice made some changes, transferring some judges in the latest shake-up of the judiciary. High Court Judge George Odunga, who's often come under criticism from a section of Jubilee politicians who've accused him time and again of biased judgments, moves away from the Judicial Review Division to the Machakos High Court as the presiding judge. Sheila Sindeo, NTV.